Hello everyone, welcome to another session on Python for data science. Today we'll continue with Pandas. So last session we basically discussed about how to use subsetting, how to use lock and iLock methods. Today we'll move on to further more topics. Today we'll move on to how to use GroupBy. Right. So let's create a sample data frame for this. Yeah, so we can use the file whatever we read, but it would be helpful if you have a smaller data set to work with. Okay, the reason being if you have a sort of bigger data frame, it would it would be a bit difficult sort of visualizing this. So I'm creating a dictionary. In dictionary, sort of basically you create that. So you create A1, then you use A2 list of xy, right? List of xy star 25 plus so plus yz star 25. So you got your A2, you got your v1. So v1 is np dot random dot rand of 100, p dot random rand of 100. You got v2 np dot random dot rand of np dot random. So yeah, now you've created a data frame. Okay, np is not defined. So you need to numpy. So numpy is not right. So you got your data frame. You just do head is also not required. You can just write little df. It's a very small one. Okay, this is a bit of a big one. So let's decrease that. I think it's fine. df dot that is fine. So you can just look at the shape of it. Possibly df dot shape. It's 100 rows, 4 columns. All right. Now. So we look at. So we've done a very brief group by. I'll run the output of group by, then explain. I think it's mostly self-explanatory. It's not conceptually very hard to understand to pick it up. So I'm grouping by and I'm taking a mean. Okay. So what is happening is you see ABCD. How did you get ABCD? How did you get ABCD? Say the column A1. The column A1, the column A1, the column A1. The number of unique values. So you have you have a A, you have a B, you have a C, and D. So you have 4 A, B, C, D, and you're taking the unique values. So basically, what happened is, what is happening over there is you're taking the unique values for A, B, C, D. So do a div.groupby of A1. So you get 4 values A, B, C, D, and it's taking the mean. So why you're not getting A2 over here is mean is sort of a numerical operation. So wherever you have only numbers, only then you would get you only get the columns. Okay. So next, say we'll do df dot group by of A2. Again, you should get very similar output as well, right? So you're doing it on A2. Now, say suppose you want to do group by for both the columns. What would you do? So what would the syntax be? Again, it's very, see, the syntax is very, very similar. You want to do, if you want to pass sort of a single listing, do not use a list or anything like that, right? So this concept is similar in your lock and iLock as well, right? So if you want to subset only a single row, a single column, just put that value, fine, it'll work, right? So if you want to pass multiple listings, basically what you need to do is you need to just pass it in a list, right? So as you can see, this is sort of the syntax is fairly consistent, right? So what happens if you run only this one? Nothing will happen. You just get a group by object. So basically what you need to do is you need to run some function on it, right? So it has already grouped some function need to be run. So this is how you run it. Now you have sort of run only one function. Right? Now what do you do? What will you do when you need to run? When you need to run multiple functions. Obviously, you can't put it in a list and run it. So there's a function. There's a method in GroupBy object. Again, it's not available in the normal Pandas object. It is in GroupBy object. Just do a agg min max min. Just do a agg of min, agg of mean, and agg of max. You just run it, right? So you can easily run. You can easily run multiple methods. So you can easily run min. You can easily run a min, max, and mean. Right. So this is how you can run this. Now, say suppose from all of these, you say suppose you want to select only a particular column. You do not want all the columns. Particular column. Just the normal column subsetting. So you want to select multiple columns. Again, the same logic. Double square brackets. Run it. You'll get the output. Right. So this is what GroupBy is. How do you do GroupBy with single column? How do you do GroupBy with multiple columns? How do you get a single function? How do you apply a single function? How do you apply multiple functions, right? So next we'll actually move on to joins. I think joins is one more sort of important this thing which you will be using a lot. Again, we'll create a very sample data frame. The reason for creating sample data frames is it will be far more easier to follow. All right. If I just use a bigger sort of data frame, it would be a bit hard to follow, right? So using a smaller data frames would be very easy to follow. I'm sure using this in GroupBy, right, would definitely would have helped you in understanding. Say if instead of that, if I'd actually used maybe 1,000 row or 100 row, it would just be a waste of. So it would have difficulties in understanding, right? So this is df1. Now say it's now it should be this. So this is df2. Obviously, I won't have the same. I won't have the same values. Obviously, that's for sure. So say suppose in this I just create 3 rows. So this is df2, then this is df3. So df3, let df3 be this b8, this b8, this b, this bd. Oh, I just see no problem. So I'm just randomly changing. So this is df3, right? Well, let me create df4. So df4 again. Baby yes. Yeah, this is your df4. Okay. And one more change being the column name. This is data 2. This is data 3. Yeah, so we have our 4 data frames ready. So maybe let's have a look at each one. I think it's okay. You can see df1 is this, right? df2 is this. df3. Nothing new here. So it's all very similar. So df4, df2, everything is same. Now, basically, what we'll do, I think this inner join concept, right? It's very similar to your joins. Normal SQL joins, very, very similar. Nothing new, nothing fancy. It's actually the same thing, conceptually, at least. Then we look at one example, the command. So the method which you'll be using is merge. pd.merge is a command. Now, say suppose I run this without any this. So I'm just running by the default values over here. As you can see, so I did not specify the key name. I did not specify the join name. Even then it ran. So obviously it would have some certain default values. So by default, it picked up the key column. When you look at df1 and df2, by default, it picked up the key column, right? It picked up the key column. So it selected basically all rows where it had B. So basically, why do you have 8 over there is So it's sort of doing a, I think it's sort of doing a left join, right? It's doing a left join. All rows where B is there, right? All rows where A is there. So wherever B, let me just write it down over here. I mean, this thing is typed out over here. It should be easier to follow, right? So all of these repeated point 1.777. So this is B. So wherever you have B, so B is repeated thrice. So you get, that's why you get 3 B's repeat over here, right? A is repeated thrice. That's why you get 3 times over here. So you have 1.005, 0.005, 1.005, because then 2 values, 1.79, 1.79. Okay. So C is not there. I think this is doing a sort of inner join, I believe. So let's look at the documentation. So how do you look at documentation? At least in a Jupyter notebook, is just do a question mark over there. So the default values is, the first one, the default is inner join. So it'll basically do an inner join. Okay, that's fine. It'll basically run an inner join on it, right? So you got an inner join. Now say suppose now consider a case where you want to specify what type of join do you want. How do you specify? Is df.merge how he's left. So this one you're doing basically a left join, right? Now consider a case where you have both. Now consider a case where you have both data frames, where both the data frames, consider a case where both the data frames have different keys, right? That's fairly common. Now how does Pandas allow that is, you basically select both the columns and you have left on, and so there's an argument called left underscore on. So if you need not specify if there's a particular column which is common to both, then Pandas automatically takes care of it. Say in case you do not in case you do not have a common key column, so you need to specify left on and right on. So this left on, right on, obviously. So D3, D4. I think, well, there is a bit of an issue. So let me just D3, D4 left. Right now it should be clearer. Right, so you can just specify what is the key value, what is the column on which. So basically, 2 columns with different names. You just specify the column names with different things will take care. So how? So just a brief sort of refresher overview. Just do df.merge. Okay, so I'll tell you how the argument how tells you what type of join do you want. On tells you what is the column. Left underscore on, right underscore on. Yeah, you'll be using it whenever your first data frame, second data frame have different column names. Yeah, and obviously you have other values as well. Look at that. So these are different types of joins. This is the explanation for each one of this, right? Okay, guys, then thank you for this. So thank you for joining the session. So in the next class, we'll discuss the few remaining concepts in Pandas. Thank you, guys.